And you know, I've talked about this hive mind that they are seeking to create through artificial intelligence being connected to the human body brain. But we already have hive minds. You've only got to look around. What they want is to fuse it into one global hive mind, but we have many, many sub-hive minds. For instance, the woke mentality is a hive mind, where they kind of all think the same way and react the same way. And religions are hive minds in the sense of they mutually believe the same thing and tend to react and respond in similar ways. And MAGA, the Trump-supporting hive mind, is definitely among them. Because what happens is when you have an infusion of consciousness into a situation, you start to critically think. You don't think in black and white, them good, them bad. You see the nuances. You see the shades of gray. It's what consciousness does. But when you have a hive mind that is just supporting one side, or one person even, then that nuance is gone because they can't do any wrong. And even if they do, often, you somehow excuse it. You find a way of explaining it away. And that's what we're seeing. Because when you look at what's happening in America and its impact on the wider world through these tariffs and stuff, you are looking at fascism unfolding before our eyes. This is why Trump wants to take on the courts and neuter them in the same way that Capitol Hill has been neutered, so the executive, i.e. him, can do what he bloody likes.
David is so right. We are already connected to AI people. Alright, AI, artificial intelligence. Most of what we believe in, things we hold on to, it's artificial information, false information, frivolous information. So, in truth and in fact, most of us deeply connected with artificial intelligence already, people. It might sound funny, but it's just the facts. So, again, David is spot on, people. David is so spot on. We are already connected. Most of us is thinking like you have to get a brain chip or a transplant or something like that. No. Just our perspective and our beliefs. We're already connected to some artificial foolishness. Politics, for example. Red side, blue side. Same something. Same foolishness. Same division. Same madness. Really, if I go religion, same madness, same division. It's just some artificial things we hold on to, we fight. We're willing to risk it all. Ostracize our family. Hate other people just because of some belief. What we were given. Because I don't like say we ask for this or we request this or we choose to believe this. It's just given to us. Some artificial intelligence people. So we are already connected. We are already connected technically, if you want to put it like that. So this is the state we're in, people. This is the state we're in. It's very deep. This whole Hive mentality thing, it's very deep, people. That's why people like us now have a lot of friends, family are go ostracize us, cut us off, because we are awakening. We are awakening people, and I just part of a journey. It's a lonely journey, but it continues.
There was this extraordinary event this week in the White House when El Salvador's Bukele said it's preposterous to suggest that he return Abrego Garcia to the United States. Now, Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia is a Salvadorian citizen, who's lived in Maryland for about 15 years. He was deported to El Salvador despite being granted protections by a U.S. immigration judge, and he is now in custody in Bukele's mega prison known as Icke. Now, first of all, I don't know if Garcia is a nice bloke. He may not be. There are claims on both sides that he's absolutely innocent of anything, and then others say that he's not. So what you do in a civilized country is you put the evidence before a court in a public place, and you let the evidence be shown, revealed, and then we'll see. What you don't do, if you are not a banana republic, is take the guy off the street, despite the court ruling, and put him on a flight to this horror prison in El Salvador. That's what you don't do. But they did. And the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return. But during Bukele's Oval Office visit, Trump and his team said it was up to the Salvadorian government to decide whether to return him. And Bukele said, I ain't doing it. And so more than 200 migrants so far have been sent to the prison. Many have been sent there without due process. I mean, it's okay. If they're illegally in the country, okay, you do something about it. But you don't just stick them on a plane and throw them across the border into a horror prison. You give them due process. It's what makes you civilized. But instead, many have been sent there without due process, using an obscure wartime law called the Alien Enemies Act to deport large groups of Venezuelans and Salvadorians who the administration say are gang members. And if they are, they should be out of the country. But let's establish they are first. It's called being civilized. So the Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, and Trump's Homeland Security Advisor and White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Stephen Miller, said that foreign policy was the domain of the president and not a judge.
He's a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on your correspondence just a few days ago.
How long do we have to answer this question from you? Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please.
Okay, let's address this big elephant in the room. According to these guys sitting here, people, They're saying they're enforcing the law and they're getting rid of criminals who are breaking the law and illegals, undocumented people. Okay. Let's adjust that illegal terminology. Who break the law more than these guys sitting here? Donald Trump consistently break the law. Consistently have case hanging overhead. If we research, if we go deeper, you can find dirt on all of these guys coming up. But yet still them talk about criminal and get rid of criminal and enforce law against criminals. When these guys are consistently criminal, yo, it's so funny, people. This is really a clown show. And another myth they keep saying, immigrants, terrorists and gangs, and where are the terroristical activities that's going on in America? Where is it? Most of these, whether refer as a terrorist act, a mass shooting, mass killing, it's American citizens who are always behind it. Huh? Am I wrong? So, yeah, them are gonna say enforce the law and get documented. But remember, America was built on immigrants, built on people capturing land. We know what them do with the Indians, them. We know people, native people, them. Not just the Indians, them, but other native people was there. So don't make it just look like some native Indian thing, and no, other indigenous people in America, and they get rid of them, make their laws, which they say everyone should abide by, when them never abide by no law in the first place. So how it gonna work? How it gonna work? And people them wake up, that's why you see riots in LA right now, people. How it gonna work? These guys change the law, twist the law in a feed them way at all times. But them want we abide by it, and them don't abide by these same laws, break other laws, but them get off scot-free because according to them, a president can't get charged. No care what him do. But we follow the law. How that gonna make sense, people? How that gonna make sense? So continue, David.
But of course, it's not about a judge dictating foreign policy. It's about a judge saying that what was done was illegal, and therefore you have to bring him back to give him due process. And this whole stuff about not having a judge dictate to Trump is actually about neutering the courts and the judiciary, as they have already neutered Capitol Hill, so that Trump basically rules as a monarch. He already is with these executive orders without pushback through the courts. He's dictating swish of the pen, law of the land to 350 million Americans. And what Trump supporters, I would suggest, need to grasp is that this is just the start. Where does this end, given it's only still weeks into the administration, the regime? It was said that Trump and Bukele were caught on a hot mic with Trump talking about next they'll be sending homegrown criminals to El Salvador. And the media were in the room, it would seem. Certainly there were some people in the room listening to this, so it wasn't really so much of a hot mic. And even more, Trump is not even trying to hide it, as we'll see in a second. This was the, quote, hot mic moment.
Demanded the people wanted to change everything. And they wanted to. He demanded. They love you. They love what you do. You know, I'm not your supporter. I want him to do, you know, criminals next. Yeah. I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrown's built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's big. All right. It's not big enough. No, yeah. Come on. So this is a much different office than you.
So I saw some in the MAGA media and Trump supporters saying, "Oh no. He didn't mean U.S. citizens when he said." Homegrown. He didn't mean he was going to send US citizens to El Salvador's horror prison. No, didn't mean that at all. Yes, he did. And he was very happy to admit it.
You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially US citizens fully naturalized American?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn, yeah, that includes them. What, do you think there's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones too. And I'm all for it. Because we can do things with the president for less money and have great security. And we have a huge prison population. We have a huge number of prisons, and then we have the private prisons, and some are operated well, I guess, and some aren't. But he does a great job with that. We have others that we're negotiating with too. But no, if it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And I'm talking about violent people. I'm talking about really bad people. Really bad people. Every bit as bad as the ones coming in.
Where indeed does it end? Where is it meant to go? And that question applies to this. Why Trump turned Roosevelt Reservation into a military zone at the southern border, in a move that significantly alters the legal and operational landscape of the U.S. immigration enforcement. President Trump has authorized the U.S. Department of Defense to take jurisdiction over federal lands along the southern border, effectively transforming these areas into military-controlled zones. Okay, I get it. Oh, well, we've got to defend the borders. But turning that borderland into a military zone, where does it end? Where will it be done next? And another, where does it end? The Real ID Act, which was enacted by Boy George Bush when he was president in 2005, guy who also oversaw the introduction of the Patriot Act after 9/11. The Real ID Act, it's been pushed back in terms of becoming law, and now Trump has said it will be next month, May the 7th. And top Trump agency reveals key reason why Real ID will be enforced. And again, what they're doing is they're using the migrant situation as an excuse to impose things that are going to apply to the whole bloody nation. It's an old technique. Focus attention, oh, we're doing it because of them. And then what you do is you make it apply to everybody. And although the Real ID deadline has been pushed back numerous times, the story says, the Department of Homeland Security says stopping illegal immigration is a major reason why it's holding firm to its current May 7th deadline. In a memo exclusively obtained by Fox News Digital, the department said that the Real ID will be enforced to prevent those in the country illegally from flying unless they're looking to self-deport on an international flight. So they don't need Real ID to get on a plane if they're leaving. So are they really that dangerous then? You consider them that dangerous when you're allowing them on a plane without this real ID, as long as they're getting out of the country? While everyone else is subjected to it. And again, where does it end? The goal is for everything to be digital and for everyone to have a digital ID, which they will allow them to be constantly tracked whatever they do, wherever they go. And here's Tony Blair, who every time he speaks, the cult is speaking, who is calling for that very thing to happen in Britain.
We cannot continue with business as usual, and change is inevitable. This is where technology, like digital ID, becomes critical. My institute's own analysis shows that introducing this in the UK would save at least $2 billion a year, and likely more, by reducing losses to fraud, improving tax collection, and better targeting of state support.
Whatever Tony Blair calls for, the cult wants to introduce. And it's a kind of strange thing, because Larry Ellison of Oracle, who was wheeled out by Trump, he's a big friend of Trump, 2 days into his administration, with Sam Altman of OpenAI. They announced an up to $500 billion investment in AI and AI infrastructure, because that's what this is all about, having AI control everything. And yet, he also funds Tony Blair, who you would think would be the opposite of Trump, because basically Blair's coming from the woke angle and the globalist angle. He's a classic globalist, which Trump's supposed to be against. But Ellison's a close mate of Trump, and he's funding Tony Blair's institute. Tony Blair's Policy Institute is bankrolled by American tech billionaire Larry Ellison, whose firm supplied software to the government when the ex-PM was in number 10 Downing Street. Tony Blair's Policy Institute is being bankrolled by American tech billionaire Larry Ellison, the foundation's accounts have revealed. Mr. Ellison, founder of the software firm Oracle, gave Tony Blair's institute £26 million in 2021, with plans for future donations of a further $38 million. So here we have Larry Ellison, who supports cameras everywhere, facial recognition cameras. He supports digital ID and all these other tech control methods, just like Tony Blair. He, with Tony Blair, was behind a scheme to increase and speed up rates in Africa. They've now come together with Ellison funding to build a central database of records to monitor and combat a variety of diseases in Africa. And Blair said this is an immensely exciting and potentially groundbreaking initiative for recording information on all diseases in African nations. It just happens to be straight off the wish list of the global cult and its World Economic Forum. And what the left and the right need to grasp is that they're all coming from the same direction, pushing towards the same outcome. So you have a anti-globalist Trump, a mate of Ellison, and you have a pro-globalist Tony Blair being funded by Ellison. In the same way, you have Peter Thiel, globalist, on the steering committee of the globalist Bilderberg Group, who has funded the political career of the anti-globalist J.D. Vance, Trump's vice president. They're just the same network playing different parts to scam different belief systems and political views. It's a one-party state. No, it's a one-party world. Well, that's the public version or section of the Dot Connected this week. If you want to see the rest, then you can go to iconic.com after 5 p.m. UK every Thursday. See ya.